Chapter 15. A most unwelcome visitor. The children were soon asleep, and the day had been so long and exciting that they both slept in late. The weather was not too good that morning, so Nana and Gramps felt there was no need to wake them early. It was actually nearly 10 o'clock before either of them were moving. After a quick breakfast, they got out the list of clues and began reading it through again. Beth was just looking at the verse about Absalom when they were interrupted. "Knock, knock! Anyone home?" called a voice at the door of the awning. "Now here's just the man to help you solve your mystery," said Gramps. "Come on in, Mac, and meet the folks." Pip and Beth stared in horror as Gramps unzipped the awning and invited the shadow inside. Immediately, Beth slipped the sheet of clues under a magazine. Gramps didn't seem to notice the shocked silence in the caravan. "This is Detective Constable MacDonald of the Met," said Gramps by way of introduction. The children could not have been more surprised if Gramps had said that he was from another planet. Pip was the first to find his voice. "So you're a policeman?" he stammered. "That's right," said Gramps, smiling at Mac. "I told you I met him t'other day whilst I was down at the pond fishing." He smiled again at Max. "He's been staying on site for a while." Yes, we know," muttered Beth. "That you do," said the shadow, responding to Beth, and Beth was almost sure that there was a twinkle in his eye. "I just popped in to say cheerio." He looked back over at Gramps. "Our man has turned up in central London last night, so my job here is done, and I'm off back to the smoke." "So all your watching and waiting were no use?" asked Gramps. "It's often the way with a stakeout. You never know if anything will come of it. Still, there are worse places to spend a few weeks in summer." "But the guy turned up in the city?" "That's right. He was at his other brother's place above an antiques warehouse by the Thames, and the guys watching there spotted him trying to leave earlier this morning." Pip and Beth were having difficulty following all the details, but they were both thinking through their different encounters with the shadow and beginning to see what a different explanation was possible. "So you're off right away then?" continued Gramps. "Afraid so." "Oh, you'll stop and have a cup of coffee with us before you go, won't you? And a piece of bramble and apple pie?" Gramps smiled over at Beth as he said this. "She makes a good 'un." Mac laughed, and Beth found herself staring into the brightest green eyes she'd ever seen, which seemed to be brimming over with laughter, as Mac looked from Gramps back to the children again. "Oh, I'm afraid I already know how good the pie is," he said, looking straight at Beth now. "I just had to help myself to a piece from your granddad the other day." Help yourself to a piece? You mean you nicked my very last one?" mocked Gramps. "Well, it looked so good." "So this is why you called in this morning," chipped in Nana, getting up to go through to the kitchen for the drinks. "You were after another piece of pie, were you?" Max smiled at Nana as she went out. "Yes, please," he called, and then he turned back to the children. "So this is the famous pair," he said. "We meet properly at last. I've been hearing all about you." Pip and Beth just nodded, still not feeling entirely comfortable. "Are you two going to be silent all day?" asked Gramps. "Has the cat got your tongues, or do they need lubricating with a Coke to go with your pie?" Well," Beth said shyly. It's all right for those who come here just on holiday, Mac continued, but some of us have to work. It's not easy watching through the night and then trying to get a nap during the day. There isn't a lot of peace and quiet here during the holidays. Pip suddenly found himself smiling. Mac had just quoted the wording on the sign outside his diamond-paned caravan, almost word for word. It's all very well you smiling, young man, continued Mac, but it's difficult to stay awake at night if your sleep time is disturbed by noisy kids. His words were rather fierce, but they were outweighed by those smiling eyes. I can't say I'm sad the job is done, but this is such a lovely place, it'll be a shame to leave. I'm thinking of keeping my old van on site. I might just pop back sometimes on my day off. Anyway, enough of me. What's all this about a mystery? I heard you mention it as I came in. I like a good murder mystery. Oh, no, it's not a murder mystery, said Pip. It's just some old diary these two found, full of clues, they reckon. Clues to hidden treasure, they say, but I'm not so sure, said Gramps. An old diary, eh? Why should it be full of clues? What kind of treasure is it? Asked Mac. And as he was talking, Pip and Beth realised that he was taking them seriously, not being sceptical like Gramps had been at first. Beth began to see how his strange and sometimes scary behaviour had all been on account of his job, and Pip was even remembering that time Jack's dad had been so cross with him. Have you been watching next door's caravan for their uncle to arrive? Pip asked out of the blue. Well, bless my soul, how do you know? Countered Mac. You seem to be the one that's good at clues. Pip smiled at the suggestion. Well, the other day Jack said something about them waiting for his uncle, and his dad was furious and dragged him off into their van. At the time, Beth and I thought he was overreaction, but perhaps it wasn't, eh? Well, well, so you've solved my secret. I certainly have been watching for their uncle to return. He had escaped from custody a couple of weeks ago, and we thought he would turn up with the family soon. So, since you've worked out my mystery, how about me giving you a hand with yours? When Nana came back in with the drinks and pie, she found 3 heads poring over the note from Elizabeth and the page full of clues that Beth had copied out. So, these clues were all hidden underneath the pressed flowers and things in the diary? Asked Mac. Not exactly, said Pip. The addresses in the Bible were there, and then Nana helped us to look them up and find the words. Addresses? Queried Mac. That's right, said Nana, setting the tray on the table. There were Bible references, written in black and gold, under the last few leaves of the diary, and so we began looking them up. We have an old-fashioned Bible, explained Beth, that Nana had when she was a little girl, because Elizabeth lived in the 16th century. I see, so you have been busy. Mac paused to look through the list. And this is all the clues? He asked. There aren't any more? No, said Pip. These were the only Bible references under the leaves. Would you like to see? Asked Beth, feeling much more at home with him now. Well, he said, it's always good to start with the original documents, if that's okay with you two. Fine, said Pip. A bit of help would be good, said Beth. We seem to have got a bit stuck with it. And she went out to her room. At last the diary lay on the table between them. Nana pulled her chair in close because she hadn't seen all the clues under the leaves yet. Beth opened the book straight at the September page and carefully peeled back the leaf to reveal the first clue. This looks a bit tricky, said Mac. I'm glad you've got the answers written out. He read 7th St. Matthew 7 and took a mouthful of mouth-wateringly good pie. Yes, said Pip, looking at their list of clues. That means Matthew chapter 7 and verse 7. And he read, Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. We sing a song about that at school, Beth mentioned. Yeah, said Pip, and we have been looking everywhere for the door that it means. Mac compared the writing in the diary with the first Bible verse. Beth was just going to turn over the page to show the next clue when he reached out his hand and stopped her. Just a minute, he said. I can see that the letters agree with the Bible reference that you've got, but what are these little crosses? Mac pointed to the black and gold crosses, which were also underneath the rose leaf. Just kind of a pattern after the numbers, Beth answered. A pattern? Mac asked, looking down closely. There were black X's and gold X's, gold crosses. Yes, a pattern of black and gold, Beth said. Mused Mac. Now, let me get this straight. After all the references, there are a lot of black and yellow crosses. Is that right? Beth had to think for a minute. She suddenly realised that Mac's question could be very important. Well, yes, she remembered. And they are black and gold, though. They're not yellow. Well, whatever colour, some are marked out as different in colour to the others, yes? Asked Mac. Yes, said Beth. But it's gold, said Pip. Not just yellow, gold leaf. I think you said that, didn't you, Nana? You mean this is real gold leaf? Asked Mac in surprise. Now, just a minute, said Gramps. You didn't mention that before, coming to join in the conversation at last. We thought we would sort that out afterwards, said Pip. Well now, murmured Mac, let's have a look. Can you just read that verse again, Pip? Asked Mac. And as Pip did so, Mac ran his fingers underneath the line of black and gold crosses. Beth noticed now that among the crosses were tiny marks, little dots and small lines. When Pip finished, Mac said, These gold crosses must be an important part of the clue. You wouldn't waste expensive gold leaf on something that didn't matter. The only other place that the gold leaf is used is on the very first page, said Nana, turning to it so that Mac could see. That's beautiful, he exclaimed. Yes, but wait a minute, said Beth. Go back to the other page again. Those small marks among the crosses were a bit like punctuation, she continued. Let's have another look. Nana turned back to the page headed September, and they all bent down, and this is what they saw. The gold crosses are the ones that are shown on that page in black, standing upright, and they're bold. So if you look at it again, you've got the black X's, then in the middle some gold crosses, and then some more black X's. I think you might be onto something there, said Mac. Can you read it one more time, Pip? Really slowly, please. Pip read, Ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door will be opened unto you. He paused very clearly at the punctuation. As Pip was doing this, once more Mac ran his fingers underneath the crosses, stopping, as Pip did, with the punctuation marks. I think you might be onto something there, Beth, he said. Suppose each cross represents a word. It could mean ask, comma, and it shall be given unto you, semicolon. Then in gold, Seek, comma, and ye shall find, semicolon. And then the last part is all black again. Knock, comma, and the door will be opened unto you, full stop. It seems to fit, so why are some of the crosses in gold? Asked Beth. Mused Mac, emptying his coffee cup. I was wondering if the words represented by the gold crosses were somehow more important than the other words. Perhaps the gold means that the words seek and ye shall find are the most important part of that verse. Oh, I see, said Beth. So the bit about asking might not be the bit that we need. Just a minute, Pip interrupted. That would mean that we didn't need to be looking for a door either, do we? He asked. Maybe not, said Mac. Is that the first clue? Yes, said Beth. Well, we have to see if the other verses work the same way, said Mac. Now they all settled down around the table, Nana with the Bible in front of her, while Mac sat between the children, the diary open at the page after September, and Gramps over the other side of the table with Beth's list of clues and the pen, ready to make a note of how things worked out. I think your idea to copy out the clues all onto one page was an excellent one, said Mac. You need to do the same thing now with the pattern of the crosses, which come after the references. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to be going soon, but I suppose we could look at the next one or two to test out the theory. That would be great if you could, said Pip, surprising himself at how different his attitude was to Mac now that he realised that he wasn't a sinister character that they'd first believed that he was. Let's have a look at the second clue, went on Mac. It's here, Beth said, turning over the page and carefully lifting up the apple leaf. Ooh, there's a lot of gold leaf under this one, exclaimed Pip, and this is what it looked like. Just 3 black crosses, 5 gold ones with a comma, 5 other gold ones with a comma, and 3 black crosses. There certainly is, said Mac. Straight after the numbers, there are 3 black crosses and yes, and a fine. Only 3 black ones? Asked Gramps, who was closely following the words on Beth's sheet, as Mac described the pattern of black and gold. The words read, My beloved is gone down into his garden, to the beds of spices, to feed in the garden and to gather lilies. Yes, said Beth. There's only 3 black ones at the end. Why? Pip suddenly realised what Gramps had spotted. There aren't enough crosses for all the words, he said, before Gramps could say anything. That's right, said Gramps. At first it seemed to be following your idea about punctuation. The first 8 words are, My beloved is gone down into his garden. Then there's a comma. The next 5 words read, To the beds of spices. But then there's another comma and lots more words, 9 exactly. Mac was peering under the leaf as Gramps was talking. Wait a minute, there could be another comma after the last gold cross. He bent closer to see better and almost banged heads with Pip, who was straining to see too. Whoops, he said. I think there is. But there are only 3 black crosses, not the 9 that would be the same as the words that you have there. It's so frustrating, said Beth. It all seemed to be such a good idea at first. Now, don't be giving up at the first hurdle, said Mac. There's been many a case where as a policeman we've had a poor beginning but solved it in the end. Let's have a look at another one before I have to leave, he suggested. They looked at the next clue, which read, Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Beth turned to the page in the diary, but this time she let Mac gently raise the leaf from the plum tree upwards to reveal this secret writing. just gold crosses, a colon, and then only 3 black crosses. "Oh, look," said Beth immediately. "There are far more words than there are crosses this time." "But if it's only the gold crosses that are important," said Pip, "we don't need to worry about the rest of the words. We can just ignore those." "That's right. You should only need the first part about the straight gate," said Mac. "And if the other verses work the same way, it sounds to me that you will be looking for a garden gate at the beginning of your treasure hunt." "How do you mean?" asked Beth. "Well, now, let's put the 3 sections together. From clue number 1, we get seek and you shall find. From number 2, gone down to his garden to the bed of spices. And now, enter in at the straight gate." "I see," said the children together. "But I'm afraid that's about all I can help you with," went on Mac, "as I really ought to be going now. You'll have to let me know next time we meet how the rest of these clues work out." Pip and Beth were surprised at how disappointed they felt when they realised that Mac really couldn't stay any longer. He'd been such a help in such a short time. "I'll say cheerio and hope to see you again soon," he said, as he got up to shake hands with Gramps and give Nana a hug. "Let me know how you get on with those clues," he said to the children. "You can drop me a note at the caravan." "We will," said Pip, as they followed Mac to the door, feeling so different from the way they had felt when he first arrived.